Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher to walk you through Thursday's four-game slate. A four-game slate that features one back-to-back for Philadelphia tonight on the second leg. When Mike, I was gonna go right into it, but it's only a four-game slate. I can ask you how you're doing, Mike. How are you on this fine Thursday?
Doing good. Yeah, light day. So I usually get Birdie groomed like every 4 or 5 weeks, and I was like, oh, perfect. Thursday, 4 gamer. This is the Birdie grooming day. So Birdie's getting groomed right now. I miss him terribly. It was so weird to do after I get off a pod. I always just go hug him afterwards. You and I did a pod, and it was like, oh no, Birdie's not here. So miss Birdie. Hopefully we'll get him after this pod. But excited for the 4 games today.
Good to hear. I've been jumping around from call to call today, so it has not felt like a four-game slate for me. I still haven't even done the projections work yet, so I need to do this after logging on today. But let's get to it. Let's get to the injury stuff. Let's start with Philadelphia, second end of a back-to-back. They have not filed yet. We expect Embiid, who missed last night, to probably have that questionable tag again tonight. What are your thoughts on what we might see from Philadelphia when they do file?
Well, we know they're going to get a questionable tag. They're not going to rule him out, right? Like, there's really no chance. Doc didn't know what his status was in the pre-gamer. Didn't get any detail after the game. So, yeah, in hindsight, it was probably back-to-back related. Certainly an odd choice. I guess it was back because they won a national TV game. But, yeah, so I expect them to go. We'll see. We don't live in the world anymore where that was nice for like a week or two, where we didn't live in a world where Joel Embiid was not questionable, but we're back in that world again. So get that Q tag. Yeah, would expect if he's out again, I would expect him to go small. They went small. They wanted to go small against Bam. Certainly not really imposing threats inside in this matchup against Dallas. More switchable defenders certainly makes a ton of sense. That way you're taking away big minutes and you're throwing minutes instead at McDaniels, House, maybe George Yan gets back in the rotation. He went away because they didn't think they needed his size. They wanted to play smaller in the second unit, which thankfully for us, I should say, he didn't play because we had an over on him and we got avoided. But so if he's out, I would expect the small ball lineup. Maxey would be playing a ton in this case, but I think it beats him. I think it was back-to-back related yesterday.
Yeah. All right, let's move to the Pacers, where Tyrese Halliburton is listed as questionable with calf soreness. Halliburton has played through a ton of questionable tags this year. What is your expectation here? And if he were out, who would benefit most?
Yeah, so normally we'd be having like you said, Halliburton plays through questionable tags, yada, yada, yada. Carlisle said yesterday that he has a little bit of a calf strain. This is concerning news. This is against the Spurs too. So I'd say this is much less likely than normal. That way raises the question: if he's out, who starts? And you're looking at Chris Duarte and then putting Nembhard in the leading role, or TJ McConnell, maybe bringing Trevelyan Queen for minutes with his perpetual questionable tag. Maybe actually plays today, but yeah, I have some doubts. That would obviously open up a big role for Ben Mather, and I think he'd be picking up some on-ball stuff. So, yeah, I don't have a lot of confidence in Halliburton today, but getting listed as soreness is odd. But the quote from Carlisle is pretty big.
McConnell or Nembhard, the starter there, or both the starter there if Halliburton is out, because we've seen them kind of go through different iterations when Halliburton missed time before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that they don't really. There is a really big quote we saw them, start McConnell, and it was a really, really bad look. And I think he's going to be a little apprehensive. So I would lean Duarte if he's out, putting Nembhard on ball. And we saw that 2-game stretch, December, when he had like the league leading potential assist touch time role. That obviously dwindled because they didn't have McConnell for those games. But should be something to watch. But like I said, I would lean Duarte with bigger roles going to Nembhard. Jordan Noir has been playing a ton as the backup four. He's like icing Aaron Nesmith lately. This is really the biggest questionable tag of the night because Embiid's the same story.
Yeah. All right, let's move to some of the doubtfuls and the outs. Monty Morris is going to be out for a while for the Wizards. They waived Vernon Carey, signed Jay Huff. KP, Kristaps Porzingis, not on the injury report, which is very good for my best ball teams. The Wizards play 3 games in 4 nights here to close the week. I'm interested to see if there'll be any management on these guys, but this is a big one, right? From a playoff perspective for the Wizards, Toronto is a team they are directly competing with. What are your expectations for how things look tonight without Monty Morris? And do you think there'll be any sort of minutes restrictions on Kristaps Porzingis?
Yeah, as you mentioned, kind of odd. They're getting the Raptors are kind of going home and home, and I should say road and road, or actually a baseball series. I did this wrong 3 times now. So yeah, I think Porzingis is gonna be okay. Pretty quick turnaround for him. They usually let him go. Obviously, he won't play like big stuff, but I think he'll be okay. Obviously, he'd be moving back into the starting lineup and booting out Denny Avdia, who's been playing pretty good basketball, been a rebounding king. And DeJuan Wright, as expected, will be picking up big minutes there. Yeah, so pretty straightforward. As you mentioned, big game, man. I mean, this is really big playing / playoff implications for these teams. There were some quotes from Nurse saying, he hinted maybe they run a little bit tighter because how big this game is. Unsettled as well, so they're like putting in a little extra effort in the spot. So yeah, this is a fun little game. I kind of want to bet on it. Maybe I'll say that for behind the paywall, but there's a lot of angles to this game that I'm excited to talk about later for the DFS show.
What do you think are reasonable minutes expectations for Kristaps Porzingis tonight?
I think it's fair to expect. I didn't look at minutes for them yet, but I would probably put him at like 31. I think he's going to be kind of
fairly normal. Fairly
normal, yeah. Maybe 30 and a half, 30.
Okay. Good to know. Let's move to the probables and returns. Jordan Poole listed as probable, and then you've been very excited about the G League two-way contract eligibility reading that you've been doing in the Athletic of late. So update us on the Warriors G League players availability tonight.
Man, I am killing you today talking about Vernon Carey, Jay Huff. Now we're talking two-way stuff. So according to the Athletic, the Warriors had to sign a player to their team or else they wouldn't be able to get 100 games out of Ty Jerome and Anthony Lamb. They hit 90 in the last game. So now that they have signed Lester Quijones, they now get 10 more games out of Ty Jerome and Anthony Lamb. That signing is official. So they will be there. Breaking news. Woj, you're really late on this. Kidding, obviously. But yeah, I think he had a little tumble under the basket, popped up, limp, fine, went to shoot around, good to go. Excited for this one, man. I'm excited for the Warriors. Pretty good national TV games tonight. Pretty big playoff implications. Number 5 seeds on the line tonight, so we could see really tight rotation. Should mention Draymond tweaked his wrist, not in the injury report. We were praying he would sit out for the rest of the game with the under on him. But yeah, I mean the TNT games are pretty good. The Philly Dallas game should be fun. So. This a lot of obviously we have the Tank Bowl, but a lot of playoff implications on these little 4-gamers.
Yeah, it's a good slate minus San Antonio and Indiana in terms of competitiveness in games and whatnot. Let's move to just other news and notes here. Maxi Kleber returned last game and looked pretty good. A lot more Maxi Kleber than I anticipated. What are your expectations for any sort of minutes limit? Christian Wood is back. You noted he made a locker room trip last game. Any other notes here for the Mavericks tonight?
Yeah, he went right to the limit on Maxi Kleber did, according to Kid. They wanted him right at 24, and he hit it. We saw him start the second half. Him and Tim Hardaway Jr. Tim Hardaway Jr. played big minutes. As I would expect that to continue. I think they're just going to start that way. Matchup maybe matters. Maybe actually I take that back. Maybe they start Dwight Powell just to sacrificial lamb him for eat the first rotation for a little bit. I think that actually makes a little bit more sense because you do not want Maxi Kleber in foul trouble, especially if you're going to be dealing with a lot of driving and kicking and kickouts and some ball movement from those guys besides the Embiid stuff. So would start Powell. I think they just start Hardaway Jr. Right? Like this Justin Holiday thing was fun, but would expect him to kind of get back in the first unit there. Josh Green also looks to be dwindling really quickly here.
Yeah, the Holiday stuff is weird. Like, I don't understand why you don't just start Josh Green. Like, you can still have Hardaway off the bench if you want Hardaway scoring separated from Kyrie and Luka, which makes a little bit of sense to me. But obviously, this team struggled a bunch, so they're searching for answers in a lot of different ways. Clippers, Zubac's minutes limit. Any notes there? He returned last game. It was interesting. They tried to go small against Rudy Gobert, and it did not work. Rudy Gobert would not have it. So what are your thoughts on Zubac's tonight for the Clips?
Yeah, also said he was kind of up against the minutes limit there. 28, that's kind of where he usually is. So I don't know if but Tyler's minutes limit quotes have been very hard to read. He is all over the place with, Paul George minutes limit playing 36, 37. So I would expect him to start. Maybe he gets 30 to a tricky matchup against a lot of ball movement from the Warriors. So, probably wouldn't be too aggressive with the minutes there. We'll see if Plumlee maybe gets cut down a little bit more. We saw him play. They didn't go full center. If you call Batum a 4, so would expect maybe they go a little bit smaller here. Yeah, feels pretty straightforward. We'll get the minutes limit quote again, but as I mentioned, front end back to back. Both these teams are front end of a back to back. They're both tomorrow. Different matchups for them, and huge game, man. Number 5's on the line, and we shout out to us for doing a pod earlier. The 5 seed versus the 6 seed and stuff is interesting. Maybe you want to lose this game.
Well, I think it's one of these things that I don't think you're going to see
margins the positioning.
Thin, yeah, you're not going to see the positioning happening this early. I think you're going to see teams want to give themselves the cushion to make those decisions later if they need to, because you don't want to mess around and end up in the play-in, right? So you're threading a thin needle, but what Mike's referring to right now is in the Western Conference, it looks, because there's a lot of separation, it looks like the standings are most likely going to be Denver in the 1 seed, Memphis in the 2 seed, Sacramento in the 3 seed, although Phoenix could potentially catch them, but most likely Sacramento in that 3 seed, and then Phoenix most likely in that 4 seed, because you think they're the strongest team from here on out with Kevin Durant. And then do you want to go through a side of the draw, if you're the 5 seed, of having to win in Phoenix and then having to beat Denver? Or would you rather go the 6 seed route and have to beat the Kings and then maybe the Grizzlies or whoever else on the 7 seed, right? It's like a clear choice, but teams aren't going to want to manipulate their record right now. That's something that I think will happen 4 or 5 weeks from now. So I would expect, full out, like playing
100%
playoff competitiveness tonight.
Yeah. If it was April 2nd, maybe it would be a little bit different, but March 2nd can't be doing that.
Yeah. All right. That will do it for this edition of Establish Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. As always, please support the people who are supporting us. This show is brought to you by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. They have daily NBA snake drafts for money running in addition to many formats of NFL off-season best ball contests for next season. If you're playing NBA Pick'em, in-season subscribers can use our...
Actually, Dink, we missed the lead. Sorry to cut your freaking... We just don't want to forget the Spurs, but finish your read, my bad.
Oh, yeah, we did miss the Spurs. I'll hit on them.
Cut out. Am I gone or is Dink gone? I think we lost you, Dink.
I don't know. I hear you fine. So
okay, yeah, you cut out for
all aboard. Can you hear me now?
I'll finish it. Support the people who support us. I'll do my Underdog Fantasy. We'll give it 2 ad reads. Listen, go to Underdog. It's really good. Promo code ETR for a $100 deposit match. Apologies, Underdog. We screwed up the ad read, but let's get to the Spurs.
So I don't know how we missed the Spurs, but we did miss the Spurs because they have all the injury situations to tackle. Keldon Johnson ruled out, Trey Jones back, Devin Vassell back, Malachi Branham questionable. So lots of news and notes here. What are your thoughts on how the Spurs look tonight? I just don't even want the Spurs to be in the league anymore.
Yeah, I put that at the lead part, and sometimes that happens. It's my bad. Maybe I'll put it like bigger font next time. So, whole lot going on here. A sprained foot for Keldon. We saw him do this late in the game, limped off. I thought he was going to check out, but he stayed in the game. Gets ruled out early. I think he's going to miss more time, given the way this team is put together. So we've got both Trey Jones, who's been sort of had a setback with this foot thing. They expected him back before the break. He got scratched, after missing some time the first time. So I would expect some pretty good limits on him as well. And we know that with Vassell and Keldon to a lesser degree, but Vassell in particular, when he's returned from injuries, they've A, limited him, and B, even brought him off the bench. With Keldon out, I don't know if that's as viable, but we've also we've got that, and then we've got Malachi Branham. He looked like he tore something in this Utah game. He went straight to the locker room, limping, grabbing his back. I thought he was going to miss weeks, but he said he kind of downplayed it after the game. I still have my doubts. It's been called a contusion. It's been called back spasm. It's been called a number of things, which usually means I think he's going to sit. So then another component to this is Blake Wesley played arguably his best game, made a pretty big impact defensively in this game. He was kind of a key cog and getting some key turnovers as well. So he's vying for minutes. So does that affect Devontae Graham with Trey Jones coming back? There is a whole lot going on here. So bottom line, I would expect the starting lineup, if Malachi Branham is in, of Trey Jones, Malachi Branham, Devin. I still think they would start Vassell, but I have my doubts. So if not, KBD. But I would lean in. But it's close. Do you have a take to break myself in within my tie here? I'm like 50-50 on KBD or Vassell.
My only take on the Spurs is it's enough already, and
Okay.
they can sit out the rest of the season. I'm done with them. I don't want to deal with the Spurs anymore. But no, I think they're more likely to bring Vassell off the bench. That's what they did the first few times that he came back from injuries, and those were much shorter layoffs. I think Vassell off the bench for like a 20 to 24 minute role is kind of like the most likely scenario.
Worth noting, though, they have been targeting this date for a little bit, so who knows how much ramping up he's been doing behind closed doors. Where it was shorter turnaround. Maybe he hasn't been ramping up, yada yada yada. And then just finish my thought. Jeremy Sohan and obviously Zach Collins will be the 4-5s. Although Sohan has been guarding like twos a lot, and he'd actually pick up probably a lot of the Halliburton matchup if Halliburton's playing.
All right.
Ad read again since we screwed it up last time.
No.
Support
the people who are supporting us. Yeah, as always, check out the good folks at Underdog. Justin Fan will be here tomorrow to rein us back in and punish us for not doing the read correctly. The read that I've done like 4 times today now. All right. On that note, 5 o'clock Eastern, behind the paywall, myself and Mike Gallagher will tackle this 4-game slate. We will bring the rules in groups. It's a 4-game slate, so we'll have time for strategy questions as well. And of course, the flag plants. The flag plants last night, if you missed them, were on fire. Jalen Brunson from Gary, Desmond Bain from myself. Neither ended up in the winning lineup. I think Booker took that home thanks to Brandon Adams, who shipped everything last night. Shout out to him. But it was a good show. I was also on Cole Anthony, which I really wish I could have played last night. Would have been a lot of fun. But catch us then. As always, if you're uninterested in giving us your hard-earned dollars, we do ask for your hard-earned clicks. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, get notifications whenever we go live. And of course, smash that like button. Oh my gosh, I almost just sent us out right away. So you can I'm just ready to get off the show. I have not eaten, I've not done projections. It's a disaster. Smash that like button, help feed the algorithm, help us feed our families, help us feed you the injury report analysis and information you need, including the Spurs. Look, we even went overtime to do the Spurs today to make your DFS lineups, your prop bets, your spread bets, so on and so forth. A much more professional show coming to you tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern. We'll be back with Justin Fan from Underdog Fantasy. Until then, nom 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 nom.